all. So I thought as you start to research your word today or spend a little more time thinking about it, it might be helpful to think about these strategies. There's 8 of them that you can use to define words. So one of them is connotation denotation. A lot of these, by the way, we've talked about before. I just wanted to remind you of. So we've talked a lot about connotation denotation when looking at word choice and rhetorical pieces. So remember, denotation is the actual dictionary definition. Connotation is the feelings and associations we have with a word. Etymology is something we haven't really talked about, but certainly something I think could be interesting for some of you to look into. I linked on the slide that I shared out with you with the directions for today, a link to an etymology dictionary. So feel free to put your word into that dictionary and see what happens. Basically, this is how did the word start? What are its origins? Sometimes there's nothing really interesting. And sometimes there's some really interesting history of the word and origins. So I recommend that you at least look at it and see what you think. Obviously, we've talked about this as we've looked at the model writers. Personal examples can certainly work their way into your definition. I caution you to not use them as your only evidence, but they can definitely be very effective in defining a word. Multiple meanings. Again, we've seen a lot of our writers doing this. So looking at the different layers of a word and how it can mean different things in different contexts. The symbolism of a word. So what does it, I think the being a man piece probably looked at this, not explicitly, but definitely was thinking about, okay, what's the symbolism of manhood and being a man? So thinking about if your word has some bigger symbolism. Then even looking at the way a word can be used, can it be a verb as well as a noun? What about when you add a preposition to it, if you make it plural, etc. Synonyms and antonyms. Again, we've seen a lot of our writers doing this. So looking at if any of these words advance the meaning of your word. And then similes and metaphors. Again, we saw some writers doing this, and I think this can be a really powerful way to define terms and also insert some creative writing. So I encourage you to research your word. I also encourage you not to use this as a guideline for your essay. So for example, you don't want to write an essay that just defines your word in 8 ways, and then you close it off and you're done, right? Because the essential thing here is you're making an argument about the word. So as you research these, as you research your word, look for definitions you're finding that help to advance your argument or complicate your argument or layer your argument. But I don't want you to just write this as, here's my word and it can be defined in these 8 ways, the end, because that's not the type of essay we're writing. Okay. All right. Good luck today with your research. I'm here if you need me. So shoot me an email and or post a Flipgrid question and I will respond, and we can always set up a Google Meet if we need to chat in more detail. All right. Okay. Miss you guys.